good now? Okay. Thank you so much to my previous speakers, colleagues, who have really shared the insights of their own experiences and having driven some programs. And this reminds me to start off this program by, or this panel discussion by, first using one of the Sanskrit phrase, which I have always believed in it. And this phrase actually goes like this, that na abhisheko na sanskaro, singhasya kriyate mrigha, vikramarjit rajasya sumev mrigendadatta, which means neither coronation nor any ceremony performed by the animals of the jungle made lion the king of the jungle. It is only by his own work, his own aura, his own karmas, he attains kingship. And that is where the thought brings me here, and when I'm trying to connect the dots here, we all in a L&D space have actually lived almost like 3 generations in last 4 to 5 years since 2019, or let's say 2018 to now, 6 years, we all have lived these 3 generations. One was 2018 and pre-era. We were all running, the usual work, the usual workshops and all of those things. From there, COVID struck us, we all went back home, we were forced to actually think and innovate. We were forced to actually think out of the box on how to keep the business running, how to ensure that the learnability index within the organization is increasing, how to keep our employees engaged, how to keep that communication, feedback, which Sonika was just referring to, how all of this should keep flowing in so that there is no dip that is there. And that is where we all saw emergence of hybrid workforce. Today, you all see the best of the portals today have a category, whether you would like to perform into a full-time office and ecosystem, remote or hybrid. What is it that you want to work upon? And that is where the panel is going to focus today. So before we get into the panel discussion, let me first introduce my co-panelist here. And last I'll talk about myself, I'll introduce myself, although introduction has already been given. So I'm here joined, starting from left to right, I'm here being joined by Anjan Kumar Dasgupta, 26-year-old into the industry, IIM Calcutta pedigree, and has worked into multiple industry segments, pharmaceutical, corporate, training, academics, manufacturing, and consultings. Currently, he's part of head L&D as an organization counseling into MSN Labs. It's a global pharmaceutical organization, we all know. Then we have Selina David here. Selina is a L&D change leader with a focus on enterprise-wide talent transformations yielding business outcomes. With more than 2.5 decades of experience into the entire holistic learning land space. She heads the learning and development function at Hitachi Vantara, and she is HR Director HR L&D in her current capacity. Then I'm joined here also by Arvind Jonalgadda. Jonalgadda, sorry, Arvind. A bit of a tongue twister for me. Okay, so he's an experienced professional, close to 2 decades of work in the human resources, has worked into talent acquisition, performance management, talent development management, and employee relations. He's very hands-on into all of these functions, and together we all are going to actually deliberate upon the reinventing the organization structure in building a resilient workforce. The overall panel discussion is going to span for around 30 minutes. We are going to spend some 20 minutes here deliberating about the topics, some of the questions that I have thought of on how the entire flow will go. And from there on, we will actually get towards the summarization of what our learnings are. So that's broadly the agenda of the day. So I'll now move there. I'll request all my panelists to please pick up a mic. And I'm actually going to be seated next to them so that yeah, got it. All right, so just in brief about me, I am a certified coach, and that is what I bring to this panel discussion today. So 2 decades worked into talent development, very passionate about learning design, structure, learning architecture across the organization, right from someone who is new to the organization to a seasoned leader who is managing a headcount of 2,000 plus. So it depends on which hat I'm wearing at what point of time, but the entire intent is to keep that learnability, to keep the leadership quotient of the organization, and to keep the talent distilled for scale. That is what my role at Virtusa is. So that's a brief, and we'll quickly now get into the questions answer side of it. So my first question, I'm actually going to come to Arvind. I'm going to start from you, Arvind. Is we all have seen this hybrid workplaces becoming prevalent, and most of the organizations are now picking that up. One of the concerns that moves around is around employee collaboration, communication, and team dynamics. How can an organization structure facilitate these aspects of collaboration amongst the employees, engagement amongst the employees, and communication across the organization?
So first of all, thank you very much for having me here. It's great to listen from all the speakers since morning. It's a difficult one, honestly, to answer because there are still multiple industries which, as you rightly said, that are still trying to adapt and figure out what is right, what is wrong, or is the hybrid worth enough of going through. Typically from the industry from where I come in is a life insurance industry, and even in the peak period of lockdown, the first lockdown, banking and insurance were the first who were given. Now you have to come back to the work from the government only. So it's a difficult space, but if you see in past 4 years or so, 2020 was COVID year, what organizations need to kind of think about is how do you define a hybrid workplace, or what exactly are you trying to do with hybrid and work? Eventually any employer or any organization will look for a productive hours of an X period, which can be, say, for example, in 8 hours in a day, if that's what we are talking about. How does that the employee gives you back, or how an employee contributes in this 8 hours, that has to be the core of the problem which we have to figure out. Now, whether that's from a remote working or from a hybrid working or coming to office. Now, if you keep that as a landscape or an area as a business or as an HR to kind of address, then a lot of answers lies within. If an employee is very clearly being told that, okay, 8 hours, this is what we are kind of looking at it. You do from anywhere, that doesn't matter. There is a sufficient matrix, or there is a sufficient parameter on which we will evaluate your contribution other than just being a part of your KRAs. Then it brings in that aspects of what's in it for me, because that's what employees looking. Most of the employees or people who are working in hybrid and remote are asking that if I'm able to do my job, why do I need to come to office? So between this tussle of an employer saying no, because see, it is about you're trying to control your family, or like no, this is the way to work. Sonika mentioned and Elton mentioned, and the other speakers also spoke about it, that if you try to control the way how this new Gen Z, which is 47 or 72, 70% by 2025, it is difficult for them to kind of understand that thing. The second is, from an organization perspective, a lot of approaches traditionally have been top-down approach, but I'm still not sure how many top leaders have themselves accepted the fact that, okay, this is also the way of doing the business, because we're still evolving and trying to understand. I'll give a very easiest example. How many the lower level employees have direct access to the top leadership? They still follow the hierarchy. And if you're talking about a collaboration and walk the talk on those aspects on employee engagement, can a Gen Z directly access the top leadership? You'll see, interestingly, and that's my observation, that when you do a customer journey and an employee journey in a business, we are okay for a customer to come and talk with the best guys, but we are still not, as an organization, open for an employee to come and talk with the top guy, because suddenly our hierarchies and all those models come in. So that's one space where collaboration will come, is where you open the access of the leadership, irrespective of the designations or the hierarchies. It kind of opens up that entire thought process. The employee can talk that this is how I contribute. So what's in it for me from an employee perspective, and possibly from an organization perspective, if the top guy becomes easily accessible. And I'm not saying it always has to be the CEO. You have a man-com or a top leadership team, and cross-functional even better. So this is 1-2 areas which we can kind of look at.
Okay, thank you, Arvind. So what I could gather is that catch employees' aspirations at a faster pace, ensure that there is a constant communication that is happening. So for that, the organization structure needs to be more aligned to open door policy, not in just of words, but in letter and spirit on both the sides, so that employees know if they are inclined to something, or if they are committed to some particular deliverables, they know why they are deliverable. That gives me a question, which I'm going to double click into the collaboration and communication side of it, but I'm going to bring a twist of DEI here because we have Selina who takes care of that as well. So Selina, especially when we look at the DEI space, inclusivity, right, equity, within the organization structures, especially when there is a remote, how should an organization, any leader should approach the organization structure to encourage that inclusivity and equity?
Sure. Thanks for having me here, and thanks for the question. See, from my point of view, I believe that if an organization encourages remote working, or whether it is hybrid working, or whether it is being in office setting, irrespective of that, an organization needs to be fair to everybody. Fair to people who come to office daily, and also supportive of people who choose to work remotely for whatsoever reasons. And therefore, having a standard policy is what matters, whether a DEI policy, standard policies, because we don't want people questioning that how come there are different policies for people working in different settings. So at Hitachi, we have a very standardized policy, and what I mean by that is whether there are career opportunities, whether there are leadership opportunities, a leader is free to operate from a remote setting wherever he or she is in the world, but he or she needs to fulfill the demands of the role, should be willing to travel where needed, and more importantly, standard performance guidelines. There is no compromise made because somebody is sitting somewhere. So I think if we have a standardized policy and we have performance standards set within an organization, then diversity, then these issues don't really come into being, as well as promotion and growth opportunities. Because we do not want people discussing in different quarters of the company that the organization is being unfair to people operating in a particular setting. And when it comes to diversity and inclusion, diversity is like inviting everybody to a party. Inclusion is asking them to come and dance. So everybody is invited to come and dance if there is a career opportunity. And you have to meet the demands. You need to clear the interview if it's an internal opportunity that is there, and you're there. So that's from an inclusion standpoint, to build a resilient workforce. And from an equity standpoint, definitely I feel equity is different from equality. It's about providing the right resources to people to succeed. And equality is giving the same set of resources to everybody, and some may not need all of them. Equity is identifying who needs what and giving them that to enable them succeed. And therefore, in a hybrid, in-person context, I think we need to really be sensitive to the resources people need to enable them succeed. And at Hitachi, we are very sensitive to that, and we give people the resources they need to succeed, whether it is their development, whether even if there are infrastructural, tech kind of support that they need. That's because we have a policy and we are not mandating people to return to office. In fact, Hitachi as an organization encouraged remote working even prior to COVID. So that's our organization culture. Only in regions such as India, Vietnam, Portugal, where we have development centers, the clients mandated for people to be in the office. But as an organization culture, remote working is not new to us. We were always encouraged to work remotely as long as we fulfill, performance requirements.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Selina. I think equitable performance management coming out very clearly. So Anjan, we have heard from both Arvind and Selina. While Arvind is asking about open doors, quicker communication access with the leadership to get a view of what's in it for me and why I'm committed to whatever I'm committed to. At the same time, Selina bringing the aspect of equitability, the remote working ecosystem, and diversity, and very good analogy, Selina, that you have used here is about inviting everyone to the party, but at the same time involving them to dance, and at the same time ensuring that you arrange for the right kind of shoes for the size that they need, to excel at that particular dance. So Anjan, what would be your advice to the organization on how should they approach their current organization structure,
Right.
so that it becomes an enabling factor for whatever Arvind and Selina have said?
Right, right. I will, again, first of all, thank you still for giving this opportunity. And I mean, the points my previous speakers have already highlighted, I'll give an algorithm that we follow. In last 12 years, I'm with a company called Emerson. So I start giving the structure. I think the first basic thing we need to consider is BNI, that is business need analysis. So if I do a BNI, that is business needs analysis and identification, then only I can do an LNI, that is learning need analysis or identification, and then only the training need comes into the picture. So these three things is the first, I mean, we need to decide. Now, one of the point what Arvind was highlighting, that how much you are getting the young talent or everyone is getting an access. So while doing a business analysis, as you have rightly shared, that most of the time it is top-down approach. In our case, when I did the learning and development need and the business need, it's still also whenever we are doing this, we include 60-20-20, 60% from the field, that's the ground, then 20 is the mid-level managers and 20 the divisional heads. So that we can get an idea exactly what is the requirement. So that it's not that someone fixes it sitting at the cold chamber and says that this is the way it goes to happen. Now, a couple of considerations we need to have a right kind of hybrid structure. As I said, what industry it is, depending on. So I was having a word with one of my colleagues. See, there are industries where we have the need for having personal touch, like production, like hospitality, all these hotel industries may require more of a personal touch. So hybrid has a limitations, and what amount of hybrid workforce we can develop and who will be the part of it will be an important thing, will design a structure. Now, in that industry also, which function that person is. Suppose there are many things which can be managed remotely, but there are certain functions where the individual touch and individual interactions is very important. Now, for me, as I am taking care of the international learning and development, so geographical location becomes a very important consideration, and how much is the travel time. For an example, when I am taking care of the size of the organization, I started 2012 when the organization was very small. And now that we have a very big 20,000 people are there in our organization, MSN. So the need of the hour was to divide the L&D team into multiple verticals, because none of the verticals can be in a position to suffice the need of the whole organization and different functions. Thinking about initially when I was taking session for factory, maybe now the number of people are more, so there is a dedicated team for the factory and they are managing the structure. So maybe in there also they have this hybrid structure. Some modules are e-learning based, but some modules they require demonstration. Otherwise, it is not possible. So there is a separate L&D team. They are doing a wonderful job. My colleagues Shivanand and their team is there. They are doing a wonderful job by aligning the resources, because every time the resource will not be available in your organization, to collaborating with others. And same time, when I take care of the international L&D, domestic sales business L&D is also different. So there are three verticals which we are working. So exactly, I am giving the example. This gives an understanding how the structures plays a role. Now, when you are talking about customization, especially when I am, suppose I'm having a structure of 5 people reporting to me, and they're in different countries. Like LATAM, we have a regional L&D manager. Now we have a structure thinking that we need to go into the therapies area, like customization you're talking about. So at the therapy areas, we need to have our people. We need to have suppose a cardiology person who is doing work may not be suitable for a neurology. So the future is that we need to have a 40 L&D managers international scenario. Now, when you are talking about team size, the next thing is that how much you are considering the individual factors. For an example, personality plays a vital role. See, if I just take an example of DISC, we talk about there are 4 types of personalities. D is dominant.
Didn't tell 90% on your piloting or experimenting, but even that 10% will give you a much more confidence from a zero. Like COVID did, opened up a lot of and broke a lot of myths. The same way we have to kind of approach in a hybrid setup.
And just adding on, I think fail fast, recover fast will help the organization to become much more agile. Wonderful. Very well said. Selina, anything you would like to add to what Arvind has said, apart from empowering and, ensuring that, the communication lines are always open? Anything that you would like to add there? It's all about leadership, taking up, the strategies to bring in those reimagination of the organization structure, and what strategies they can actually take to field.
I think he's covered it all.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so this reminds me of one of the guys who actually walked into my office the other day, a business analyst that you said, Anjan, working into a BFSI space, but suddenly no requirement is there. And now the resource management team member, leader comes and says, you have an opportunity in telecom. Now this guy is concerned. 11 years into BFSI, credit market SME, but no requirement as of now. Two options, either take this telecom opportunity, completely new field for you. Second option, you wait for the right opportunity to knock the doors. Third option, wait for 3 months when you will find another opportunity, right? And we had a very open conversation, no prejudice, no judgments, completely psychologically safe conversation, one-on-one conversation. Even if he wants to say that, Anoop, I will resign and I'll just find some other opportunity, I'm open to that, because he knows that if he has said something to me, it's not going to go to the next level. So eventually when he walks out of my room, he himself is convinced that, all right, it's another opportunity for me to build my second forte, but at the same time, I'll keep my lines open. At least for next 6 to 9 months, I'm going to go into telecom, but if an opportunity comes after 9 months, I'm going to come back. At least at a foundational level of the telecom, I will be open. So that is where the organization structure becomes an enabling factor of saying that, all right, if you want to move from here to here, don't worry, we're going to give you 2 months. We're going to give you the mentor support. We're going to give you a coach support. We're going to help you out there, right? All right, so moving on to, the next question that is there on my mind, and this is from Anjan. So far, organizations from wherever we come from and wherever this august audience comes from, we all have done some experiments and all of these. What are some of the learnings that the organizations had in last 5 to 6 years of trying to become a truly hybrid, or to the extent hybrid is possible? What learnings the organization had?
See, I think personally what I believe that first thing what was there as an experiment when we started, don't do it at a time. I think incremental approach is the first thing which is the learning. If you are trying to do a hybrid structure, you don't do it at a time. Take a smaller sample size, do it, understand what are the need, and then change it. That's the first thing. First learning is that. But otherwise, it's a misuse of resources, and there will be more challenges. The next thing is that success of hybrid learning depends on how you are forming a right community. If I am having an understanding that there is a community which is there to help me, my manager is there, there are some resources which is going to help me, my adaptability will be more. And the third one is creating the right learning culture. Now, learning culture, because the thing which happens in the hybrid structure is that many a time if they're working in silos and they are not getting a chance to meet their, their teammates, so it's not that leader, they learn from the leader also learns from them. So that structure is absolutely important, that while running the show, we understood that these are the 3 components we need to have. And as you rightly said, that it is more of an authentic experience which you are looking for. You're talking about failure. Like do you have any idea who is the person who has missed most number of penalties? Any idea? Which is the footballer? Do you know the name of the person who has missed the most number of penalties? Any idea? Messi, yes. The best player, Messi. So you see, that is authentic idea. No one wants to be in the bench, okay? I'm getting a salary and sitting in the bench. For some time it may feel good, but I want authentic experiment and authentic experience. So I think these are the few things we need to consider while thinking about hybrid organization. Yeah.
Okay, quick last question, Selina, to you. On the lines of what Anjan has said, what could be the possible measurement metrics?
Success metrics? Yeah, sure. So in the context of an org restructure, possible success metrics, I think we need to look at it from 2 perspectives. One is from an employee point of view, because without them, there's no business. So we do a lot of customer satisfaction indexes. I think it's very important to look at employee satisfaction, employee engagement, scores. And an employee, like at Hitachi, we have the Hitachi Insights, they call it. And Hitachi Insights is a survey that is conducted, which is highly confidential and anonymous, where all Hitachi employees have the freedom to articulate what is their pulse with the organization. And that data is taken very seriously.
Just quick one, two, three headers.
Yeah, so that's one, employee engagement index. The second thing I think it's important is to look at if the house lights are on, yes? Because we can keep restructuring ourselves, but it's important to see how are we doing with our growth targets. For an employee, at the end of the day, they want an annual compensation review. They want career opportunities. In a tech firm, they're looking at, will you send me on site? Will I get an opportunity to work on new technologies? So you can keep restructuring yourself, but at the end of the day, answer these questions for me. And if I'm able to grow my business, if I have, get my revenue, get the margins, have a good customer base, net new customers, renewed business from the current logos, whatsoever, yeah, if I have all that house lights on and I have a pipeline, and then I think...
So two areas that you said, engagement and North Star, business outcomes. Anything, one single header that you would like to add, Arvind, on the success metrics? Okay, performance. Anjan, anything?
I think how much they have the feeling of development. It is more onto whether they are feeling that they are in the right organization where their job and career matches to the right blend. Right.
Okay. Thank you so much. Though I think it's a very interesting topic, insightful topic, and we can go on and on and on for this. But if I have to summarize this, I'll summarize this in 4 C's. This is something that is very core to me. And whenever I do a training program on communication, I use this. First one is my content. Content is what do I know about my field? What is my level of awareness? Second one is context, in where I am applying this content, which means I'm referring to what Selina you said, North Star, business outcomes. My third C is connect, where I am connecting the business outcomes to the profit margins, to the scalability index, to the competency index. All of these are they getting aligned. And last one is communications. Together, if you actually bring them together, it creates a wonderful structure. You do not need to have those hierarchical lines, but a good experience can be created for all the employees. Thank you so much to all my panelists. Thank you everyone for patiently listening to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We would like to felicitate all of you, and to do so, I request Ms. Sonika Aaron, CEO, Marching.